like and subscribe. Serious, what are some mental issues that are overlooked? Asterisk ATTENTION. Serious tag notice. Asterisk jokes, puns, and off-topic comments are not permitted. https://www. Reddit. com/r/askreddit/wiki/index/wiki_rule 6 in **ANY** comment, parent, or child. Parent comments that aren't from the target group will be removed, along with their child replies. Report comments that violate these rules. Posts that have few relevant answers within the first hour, and posts that are not appropriate for the serious tag will be removed. Consider doing an AMA request instead. Thanks for your cooperation and enjoy the discussion. I'm a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit, /message/compose/ to/r/askreddit if you have any questions or concerns. Loneliness. Many men tend to have a lot of friends, but never close friends or people they feel like truly care about them, which leads to declining mental health, and maybe worse. Suicide and mental health. I volunteer for an anonymous listening service, similar to the Samaritans, where we don't pretend to have solutions, but will listen to anyone who wants to talk about anything. The number of men who call us, because they have literally no other support network who they can reach out to, is staggering. We need to normalize men talking about mental health issues and actually receiving support, rather than being told to be more manly. Edit. I've been asked for a contact number a few times, so here we go. If you are UK based, and want to speak to someone, you can call the Samaritans 24/7, 365 days a year on 123. I've been told that 123 works in many European countries. A quick Google brings up Germany, Ireland, Lithuania, Norway, Romania, and Slovenia. It may work in other countries too, or be able to forward you on to the correct number apparently. If you know of any similar services in other countries, I'm happy to add them to this edit as a resource for anyone who needs it. 3. I saw a woman attempting to hit her boyfriend outside a local supermarket. He walked away from her. She followed him, and kept hitting him. After this went on for about 90 seconds, he shoved her away roughly once. Two cars immediately stopped, and men jumped out of them shouting at and threatening this guy for shoving her. Nobody did anything when she was attacking him. So this one might not be as serious as the others. I babysit my friends' kids all the time. One is 3 and the other is 11. I like to take them out and about to have some fun. We go eat food, we go to the park, and arcades too. We have a ton of fun, but I always get weird looks from people. They don't look like me at all, because I'm not the father. I've had people interrogate me, and it's weird to me. I've been there their entire life and treat them like my own kids, so it kinda hurts. Edit. Well, I guess it's more serious than I thought. Height is a common thing to joke about. Nobody sees a problem with it, but it can really whittle away at your self-worth when people always make fun of you for it. The miserable paternity leaves. Cause what man wants to spend time with his newborn kid and a recovering wife, right? Men are frequently treated as expendable. Even in countries with mingled militaries, men are the overwhelming majority of combat troops and thus casualties. Not to mention pretty much all child soldiers are male. If you are male between the ages of 14 to 60, and happen to be anywhere near a combat zone, even if it's your own backyard, you are considered a military-age male and a possible target. News media regularly says things like 100 killed including 14 women and children, as if the other 86 men don't matter as much. Something like 90% of all workplace injuries and fatalities are male. Whether men seek out more dangerous jobs or only men are selected for those jobs is debatable. I'm a single father with primary custody of a school-age child with little social support in my area. I was also the stay-at-home parent while I went back to college and completed my degree. It is near impossible to find good childcare. My female work friends volunteer, but then bail at the last minute. I'm looked at as a threat by husbands of my son's classmate parents. I find that I'm often the only guy at the playground, and get sideways glances from the cliques of women who go there. If I hire a babysitter, I have to make sure I'm overly cautious about respecting boundaries, if I'm even able to have a babysitter watch my child. Also, the normal competition among female mothers gets amplified, and I'm often looked down on as a parent. I don't fit in with working guys who just want to go out and get a beer because I have a child to take care of, and women often reject me on online dating sites simply because I have a child. I love my son and would do anything in the world for him. I feel like I've done a lot, but men in my situation have zero to little support or infrastructure to manage as a single full-time parent in society. Men can be just as good parents as women, and society needs to normalize this pronto. Lack of purpose and direction in life. Not necessarily a male-only deal, but still, I see it everywhere, and it should be discussed. I see so many threads on forums and boards where people are looking for basic life advice, where to go, what to do with their life, how to be happy like everybody else, acting as though something is inherently wrong with them because our culture expects it. But I say, you know what, these are completely normal, rational, and expected reactions given the circumstances. Parents in the Gen X generation did so poorly, on the whole, in preparing kids for their adult lives. I'm not much better myself. I see young people and they seem abjectly hopeless, and why the would they not be? You can go online and hear, not just from sociologists and experts, but also regular people like you and I, randoms on the internet, talking how going to college, once seen as a golden gate, a panacea to future happiness, success, and stability, is no longer guaranteed. Rather, it has been entirely corrupted into a sort of unspoken requirement to make the bare minimum to even live comfortably in the United States. And for what? To work in a white-collar job which is increasingly being bull-tized and generally unfulfilling and unstimulating. Read David Graeber's Bull Jobs. It's enlightening, so one can pay a mortgage or rent and medical car expenses. And sure, you could go into trades, but that requires just as much commitment to another job and its associated apprenticeship, but often in physically demanding and hazardous circumstances that take a great toll later in life on top of the existing stresses of having a job. On top of that, we are so overworked that just taking the time to meet people, make friends, keep hobbies, take in experiences, is impossible. And between all of this, the world is descending into political insanity and the environment is getting worse. Those reading this of the younger stripe can easily recall multiple instances of their parents badgering and pestering them to just go out and just go get more friends, as if they were choosing to be this way. But when, how, where? Have you been on Meetup? Do you know how much of a chore it is to go on Nextdoor or drive to a library to look at a bulletin board to try and find like-minded individuals to do anything? And then they have to rely on the others to commit to showing up, who might not because, you know, the reasons above. And not only that, there's the looming thought of the future and its generally awful outlook. Young people are rightly concerned about the world in the future, but older people don't care, often joking how it's our problem, we'll figure it out. Young folks want to make sure we stop burning coal and they want to end homelessness and make sure everyone can go to the doctor without fear and crippling debt, but they are tired and so busy keeping their together that they either can't make change for fear of losing everything, who wants to risk their job by getting arrested at a protest, or, if they actually do manage to get out of the crap bucket, they just end up exacerbating the problem, saying, I got mine. Because you know, they worked hard, so pull yourself up by your bootstraps like me, you lazy. Even though those strips of leather are getting older, thinner, and weaker every year. I don't want to be a doomer or a late-stage capitalist, collapsology kind of guy. But I'm seeing these sentiments and opinions communicated online to others much more than in the past, both on Reddit and other forums of discussion, and it reflects an alarming trend for young men, and without a doubt, young people in general. The older generations will, for the first time in history, probably have lived better lives than their successors will. I can absolutely see a sort of hikikomori class coming up. The world calls them NEETs, but I can see them becoming more common as more young people say why bother? I don't want to work in an office / like a slave my entire life. And they just stop caring. And it's not because they want to play video games and be lazy, although I imagine escapism, fantasy, and wanderlust is certainly something that is chased, but because the expected life paths that the average Gen Z and millennial faces lead to zero fulfillment, if you can even manage to achieve them, and it is harder and harder every year to just get basics like housing, medical, education, etc. Regardless of where you go. Erectile dysfunction. It seems like a joke, but guys literally kill themselves because of it. It is like losing the ability to love, losing your manhood, losing your ability to feel intimate with someone. There are almost always more shelters available to women experiencing homelessness. In my city, the split is about 75% beds for women and children and 25% for men. I understand that society considers women more vulnerable, but I live in a city where it routinely gets below zero in the winter. Hypothermia doesn't care about your gender. Male disposability. If something is dangerous, send men. Your partner can replace you easily. Your only value is what you offer to other people, and the minute you are not useful anymore, people cast you aside like the fungible commodity you are. I would like to be treated like I have inherent value as a person, not like I am something to be tolerated until I am no longer useful. Men who are the victim of domestic abuse. Ask the cops and they'll tell you that enforcement is all about the death rates. Men may get maimed, but women get killed. When I asked them how many men commit suicide because of abuse, they got really quiet. Nobody has connected the dots that being domestically abused is a primary cause for suicide among men. Ask the cops and they'll tell you that enforcement is all about the death rates. Men may get maimed, but women get killed. When I asked them how many men commit suicide because of abuse, they got really quiet. Nobody has connected the dots that being domestically abused is a primary cause for suicide among men. Ask the cops and they'll tell you that enforcement is all about the death rates. Men may get maimed, but women get killed. When I asked them how many men commit suicide because of abuse, they got really quiet. Nobody has connected the dots that being domestically abused is a primary cause for suicide among men. Ask the cops and they'll tell you that enforcement is all about the death rates. Men may get maimed, but women get killed. When I asked them how many men commit suicide because of abuse, they got really quiet. Nobody has connected the dots that being domestically abused is a primary cause for suicide among men. Kind of a hidden one that is clouded by many of today's norms and cultural values, but the concept of disposability with men and many things that make them individual beings. Men who are victims of sexual assault, rape, domestic abuse, male suicide rates, and oppression. Male pattern baldness and the impact it can have on mental health and body image. Imagine being in college surrounded by guys with perfect NW1 hairlines with all these cool fades and modern trendy hairstyles, while you're stuck looking like Moby or Varys from GOT. Brutal. Mental health. Oftentimes men are made to believe mental health struggles show weakness or vulnerability, when in reality it is not something they can control. Radicalization. Jojo Rabbit is such a sweet film about this. There are a lot of young, lonely and understandably angry men and boys who are targeted by extremist groups into that kind of fail-safe ideology. You can almost see it happening. The consequences of body shaming. It has the same effect on men as it does women. No one likes to be insulted, no matter who you are. Just because we are a different sex, does not mean our minds are so vastly different that we react differently to even the most basic of things. Some women think we are emotionless, meant to serve them. Sorry if I had worded this wrong. Not exactly overlooked, but dismissed when brought up, is penis size. Women say it doesn't matter, or that only guys care about it, and then when they get the experience they completely change their tune. It's pretty jarring psychologically, to have your sexual worth reduced to this. Penis shaming. Along with fat shaming and height shaming, it's some of the most casual cruelty I hear frequently. Even if it's joking about little energy, even if it's not meant to be malicious, as someone with not quite a micropenis but might as well be, it's devastating every time. Just one more way I feel inadequate, one more way I'm not a real man. It hurts even more when other men do it. Sorry man, we can't arrest her, just because you have bruises, and endless death threats. The prosecutor won't even file. It's really Ty, buddy, we know. You can't go back to your house. She's established residency and only a judge can order her to leave your property. I didn't believe the guy. The police confirmed it for me. Poor dude. I didn't even know we had this much power. The only option to get the person out of your house is a month-long process in court. A process she must legally be notified of. While she barricades you out of your own home. Destroying everything in your name. That's real. Most guys won't go on TV, like we will, to tell the story. Sorry, dudes. We have a lot of power. The lack of a good support system. Just because a guy has people that he hangs out with, doesn't mean he's comfortable telling them serious personal issues. A really big one is abuse. Sexual assault or rape isn't taken seriously when it happens to men. 999% of all combat casualties. 94% of all workplace deaths. 93% of the prison population. 80% of all suicides. 76% of all homeless. 74% of all homicide victims. 38% of all rape victims. Live 7 years fewer. Work 0. 6 more hours per workday while alive. Twice the prison sentence for the same crime. 16% chance of being awarded custody of their children. Handle finances in 25% of families. Responsible for 12% of all retail purchases. 43% of all college admissions, and the minority since 1979. 41% of all graduate school admissions, academic gaps widening rapidly. Especially not relationships in which you can talk mental health and that deep emotional stuff. This one is top 3 things that sometimes keep me up all night. Being hit with the realization that, if everyone I knew got a I'll get one last phone call to one person before you do your ultimatum, I'm not sure a single one of them would be to me. Edit, sorry guys. Yeah, that. I befriended few men and they have so many mental problems it was hard to get them to share their feelings, but once they did it's never ending session. I love them all though, and would do everything for them to feel better. And I swear men are the best, once you let them put that manly man mask away, and let them be their true self. To all men struggling with any mental issues, I do hope one day it will all be better for you. You are amazing human beings, that deserve all the love in the world. Coming from a drunk gal, but I really do mean it. There have been social experiments about this. People laugh when the woman hits the man, but the other way around people intervene. That one is so terrible. Men just cannot be around children without being looked at weird. Regardless of their relationship, except if you are clearly their father or a woman is with you. Your kids can be literal clones of you, and still get weird looks in the parks and such, because so many people perpetuate this idea that all men are pedos hunting kids. Your kids can be literal clones of you, and still get weird looks in the parks and such, because so many people perpetuate this idea that all men are pedos hunting kids. Your kids can be literal clones of you, and still get weird looks in the parks and such, because so many people perpetuate this idea that all men are pedos hunting kids. Your kids can be literal clones of you, and still get weird looks in the parks and such, because so many people perpetuate this idea that all men are pedos hunting kids. I run recreational kids programs at a community center. There have been several times women refuse to drop their kids off when myself and another male are working the program. Doesn't matter if other moms dropping their kids off tell them we are fine, and they've known us for years. Then they go to the front desk to complain and get told the same thing, and they act like they simply can't understand how two adult males could possibly care for a group of 3 to 5 year olds. There are often *implications* they dance around as to why I must be working there. And I get you should be comfortable with the people you're dropping your kids off with, but what kind of message are you sending to your own kids when you pitch a fit about how men simply can't be trusted? What message do you send to your own son? I love my job and it hurts to be viewed as untrustworthy or even a predator simply because I'm a guy. That's absolutely true, especially for short men. They are made fun of by both girls and boys in their teens, and society seems to venerate tall men. Tall men also have their problems, but the benefits, **** in my personal experience and opinion***, outweigh the cost. I'm 6 feet 4 inches, and I do admit I feel like I have a presence in the room. I've been in fewer fist fights than my shorter friends in my teenage years, and I've been challenged a lot less to one. As an adult, I'm not as scared to walk around at night, and I've never been confronted by thugs or even approached by thugs. When I speak in a group, people tend to listen, and by default I'm given some form of authority for no reason whatsoever. People assume I'm smarter or more knowledgeable than I really am and are surprised when I don't know, or don't perform to their expectation. I remember in college I was a fairly outgoing person, in lots of club activities, etc. But my grades weren't very high. It was a small campus and most of the faculty in my major, including the dean, knew me. I needed to take a credit overload in my senior year, and for anyone with a cumulative GPA lower than 3.5 or 3.3, the dean needed to approve it. I went to her, and first she was very surprised that my GPA was below 3.5, and second she approved it in like 5 seconds, didn't even ask any questions, or look through my history. These factors have had a huge influence on my early development to the point where I became quite arrogant, thinking I know better than everyone else. Luckily that time has passed, but it did take some time for me to tone it down. I acknowledge my privilege nowadays, and I tend to use it carefully and mostly for the benefit of others. My country just raised it from 3 days to 2 weeks within 6 months after the birth. Which still I snort a lot. This is also a feminist issue, since terrible paternal leave, now often rebranded as secondary parental leave, forces one parent to solely take the burden of raising a new baby by themselves during working hours. Childcare is often prohibitively expensive for babies, forcing the primary parent, oftentimes mom, to need to give up their work to care for the child until they reach an age with more manageable daycare costs at like 3 to 4 years old. We really shouldn't have concepts like primary/secondary parental leave, but a flat parental leave that covers like 6 months. Reminds me of a magazine saying that 1 out of 4 homelesses are women, and how much of a big problem it is that they ended up there. Like the other side, the majority doesn't matter. I worked at a family practice clinic, and was actually shocked at how many people had addiction. It's honestly super common, and more education should be given out. Ask the cops and they'll tell you that enforcement is all about the death rates. Men may get maimed, but women get killed. When I asked them how many men commit suicide because of abuse, they got really quiet. Nobody has connected the dots that being domestically abused is a primary cause for suicide among men. Ask the cops and they'll tell you that enforcement is all about the death rates. Men may get maimed, but women get killed. When I asked them how many men commit suicide because of abuse, they got really quiet. Nobody has connected the dots that being domestically abused is a primary cause for suicide among men. Ask the cops and they'll tell you that enforcement is all about the death rates. Men may get maimed, but women get killed. When I asked them how many men commit suicide because of abuse, they got really quiet. Nobody has connected the dots that being domestically abused is a primary cause for suicide among men. Ask the cops and they'll tell you that enforcement is all about the death rates. Men may get maimed, but women get killed. When I asked them how many men commit suicide because of abuse, they got really quiet. Nobody has connected the dots that being domestically abused is a primary cause for suicide among men. There's a buddy cop movie where they investigate a domestic violence call, and it's this big huge hairy guy and this tiny pixie of a woman. Neighbors called because she was beating him. Nothing comes of the visit. Next time they come out to a call at that address, she had stabbed him to death. This wasn't a movie, it was the plot of one of the first episodes of The Rookie starring Nathan Fillion. Your kids can be literal clones of you and still get weird looks in the parks and such, because so many people perpetuate this idea that all men are pedos hunting kids. Your kids can be literal clones of you and still get weird looks in the parks and such, because so many people perpetuate this idea that all men are pedos hunting kids. Your kids can be literal clones of you and still get weird looks in the parks and such, because so many people perpetuate this idea that all men are pedos hunting kids. Your kids can be literal clones of you and still get weird looks in the parks and such, because so many people perpetuate this idea that all men are pedos hunting kids. You've been visited by the ghost of a very important man. Pay your respects by liking and subscribing, and he'll grant you 3 weeks of good luck. 3 weeks of